And welcome to 7 News. Treasurer Peter Costello has just announced big tax cuts for working Australians.
The biggest cuts are for workers earning less than $40,000, set to receive an extra $21 a week. The budget also delivers a host of one-off payments and a big boost in education. 7's political editor Mark Riley filed this report from Canberra.
Treasurer and teacher. Peter Costello has made $30 billion in tax cuts and big spending on education the centrepieces of his pre-election budget.
These are huge reforms, and I want them to be around long after I've left the political scene.
Average workers will soon find an extra $16 a week back in their pockets, $21 for those earning less than $40,000.
All Australians get a tax cut.
The tax-free threshold for seniors has been increased for singles and couples, and there's a one-off bonus of $500 for all pensioners, one of many cheques in the mail just before the election, including $2,000 of superannuation, $1,000 for carers and $500 for apprentices.
I'm not focusing on political momentum, I'm focusing on what's right for the Australian economy.
With the slogan signalling it is the first day of the government's re-election campaign, Peter Costello has tried to upstage Kevin Rudd's education revolution with a $5 billion higher education endowment fund to pay for new buildings and research. Its structure is similar to Labor's broadband plan, which the government rejected as irresponsible.
This is huge reform you're talking about here.
There's big incentives to boost literacy and numeracy. Schools that meet national standards will get a $50,000 bonus, while struggling students receive a $700 voucher for after-hours tuition. And there's $5,000 for teachers who extend their skills at summer school. The outlook for the economy is strong. Inflation is forecast to fall while growth picks up. With almost full employment, jobs growth will slow and the drought predicted to ease. The declared budget surplus is $10 billion, but $3.6 billion in extra tax receipts since Christmas has all been spent. There's little on climate change. That will emerge on the campaign trail, as the strains of the national anthem from another function signalled a fitting end to Peter Costello's 12th budget briefing.
You know what, I think that's my fade-out music. Thank you all very much.
And Mark Riley joins us from Parliament House now after studying the budget in detail. Mark, these tax cuts are aimed squarely at working Australians?
They certainly are, Susannah, those people who believe they've missed out in the last couple of budgets comparatively to people on higher income. So for them, there are big tax breaks this time around just before the election and other payments in areas of childcare and family. Now, last week, the Prime Minister changed tack on work choices to try and buy back the faith of those people in lower and middle income areas. And now with these tax cuts, he's looking to buy back their support and get their vote.
Mark, this is a big spending budget with one thing in mind.
Indeed. It knows that there's an election in about 4 or 5 months, Susannah, and it is big spending. There's about $37 billion of new measures in this budget. Add that to the $30 billion in tax cuts, and that's an enormous amount of money. What this does is give those government members who've been watching themselves slide in the polls over the last several months something to go out to the electorates with and argue about. Talk about these big programs with big dollars behind them and why the government should be supported going to the election.
Thanks, Mark. And more details tonight on how much extra Perth householders will have to pay for water. The state government has admitted that Perth's lowest water users will be hit hardest, facing an eventual doubling of their water bills. Rhys Whitby reports.
Perth's lowest water users face the biggest rise. At the time of last year's budget, they were charged 42.5 cents a kilolitre. From July, they'll be charged 57 cents. That's a 34% increase. And the rises keep coming, charges doubling for small users over 8 years.
And yet yesterday we had the Treasurer coming out saying average water bills are going up by 8%. I mean, that is blatantly misleading.
From July, the fixed service fee also rises $8 and charges rise across all 5 levels of consumption.
I think you'll find that most people believe still that water is still underpriced.
There is no other quality product that you can have delivered to your home at less than $1 a tonne.
The government's also accused of breaking its long-cherished promise of keeping total household fees and charges below the inflation rate. Household charges rise 3.9% in Thursday's state budget. That's 30% more than forecast inflation of 3%. But the government now says it's using an outdated 7-month-old inflation figure of 4.8% to make its comparison.
To take account, Mr Speaker, of cost increases that have already occurred.
Eric Ripper yesterday lied to the people of Western
Drawn in Parliament.
Because we know that you lied.
I'm sure the member for Vass said what he didn't mean to say.
The Deputy Liberal leader used to rough and tumble. He smashed his government statesman driving to work. Rhys Whitby, 7 News.